My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and we are hanging out today with the one and only, y'all know Black Guns Matter, Mr. Maj Toure, my brother, right out of Philly. How you doing, man?
I'm wonderful. Spring is finally getting a little warm in Philly. You know what I'm saying? The sun, you can't really tell as much now, but the sun's out a little bit more. It's warmer. We about to get active at the center. Everything is good. I wouldn't dare complain.
Man, well, you know what? I want everybody, as I welcome you all in, I know you all are coming in, trickling in, and say hello to Maj as you come in, because Maj is doing something really special, really significant. He runs an organization called Black Guns Matter. And Black Guns Matter is exactly what it says. It's exactly what it stands for. And Maj is an outspoken brother who gets banned from social media enough to let you know that he keeps it real, keeps it 100. I want you to give me updates on that, man. So actually, let's just start right there, man. So it seems like and I know Rizza Islam was going to come in today. We'll bring him in a different time, but it seems like I know that with you and Rizza, y'all had a real fickle relationship with the different social media platforms. So how's that been going, and what's the status right now?
I'm on my third Instagram page. My original page was my name at Maj Toure. My second one was at Mr. Maj Toure. And both of those got banned around the time I was being very critical of, obviously, the jab situation. Just from this entire time, I was like, nah, no, thank you. I don't, firearms and our work at Black Guns Matter is how we defend our communities physically, right? But there's mental and PR and psychological traps that media sets. And one of them was what we saw over the last year and a half to 2 years with this jab situation, the mass marketing of it to Black folk. Usually takes 10 to 15 years for a so-called vaccine to be. And again, you do what you want. I mean, anybody can do whatever they choose with their body. That's your highest property, your body. And so we just saw that it was like targeted. Like, never has there been a time where it was like, yeah, we really, as the government, are going to like hook Black people up. And so I was very vocal about that. Same thing with Rizza. Rizza is like he's a surgeon on that lane of things. And so when we started communicating about that, in conjunction with telling Black people, and not even just telling, but getting Black people to become the largest, newest gun owning demographic in America. That's what our work was about. They just started hitting me. It was like, yeah, I remember one time it was like I would post about something and they would remove the post. And then I would screenshot that they removed the post and I would say, yo, they're removing me for just asking a question. And then they will remove the post about me posting about being removed. You know what I'm saying? And so I just knew, like, but social media, that's not our space. You know what I mean? That's somebody else's home. And you can come in and I can understand that my logic and my strict adherence to freedom and my strict adherence to the actual science and data, that website Worldometers this entire time was telling everybody the death rate is not what they're trying to package this to be. But those aren't our websites. So I just accept it. When you're in a fight or when you're in a situation, you got to expect contact. Like, the contact's going to come. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, for me, it's like, cool, we got an email list. We actually do work actually in real life outside. That's, Brother Jay Morrison's thing, in real life. You know what I'm saying? And so it just was expected. The interesting thing that I noticed was how quickly people forget or pretend like that last year and a half of social media censorship, like, we pretend like that's not what was happening. I mean, there was one guy, I don't even want to mention his name because I can't really fully remember, but I did an interview on one of those platforms, and the brother said it doesn't matter what you eat. If you don't take the jab, it doesn't matter how much green juice and green grass and healthy fruits and vegetables. Just like, the only way that you can be safe is this vaccine. And I'm like, bro, like, why are you saying this to Black people? Like, in what world, And so, again, we just expect contact. My new Instagram is Big Daddy Toure. My Twitter has been very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I misspelled Toure. Just like I misspelled Black Guns Matter. So let me just let me fix my shit, man, because I realized I misspelled Black Guns Matter, and then I realized I misspelled Big Daddy Toure. So I'm gonna make sure I get that right, man, because I want people to follow you. So sorry about that, brother. Please
That's all
go
right.
ahead.
That's all right. And so just it's just really seeing that um this is a all around, like I don't really understand how people, I don't think people understand how the onslaught on our minds, my shirt says most effective devil in America. And it's like that's not sidebar, that's a quote from the honorable El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X. Um that onslaught was there. So media is just that. It's my Twitter is just at Maj Toure, but we were very shadow banned and censored over there. We got to think maybe at the time we had a few like 90,000 Twitter followers. But interesting thing, over the last week or so, Twitter's been kind of like releasing some of the algorithms or the blocks or something like that. And that, obviously that might have something to do with the Elon Musk thing. But we just expected contact, and we create content that in essence we can put on our website and our email blast and things like that. People, if they want to learn about the free classes, not only just at the Solutionary Center but around the country, they can email us at solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. But even that, like, Gmail is Google. Like there's no like if we're gonna keep it a buck, like we got to start going into like getting our own servers and trying to play it that way, which is what we'll do. But yeah, that's been my hit story with social media. I'm actually honored that to be targeted. Like that part, the late great Nipsey Hussle said one of his final personal tweets was, "To have strong enemies is a blessing."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so like, that's good. Like if this is the fight that I got to deal with, like our elders and ancestors had to deal with physical like attacks, like physical, we sicking dogs on you, we shooting you with hoses, all of these different things, which one could say was less sophisticated. But in regards to like the battle that I gotta have, and if that's one of the biggest rumbles that I gotta take, I'll fight that rumble all day, every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Well, I love it. Well, everybody, in case you wonder who I'm talking to Maj Toure, CEO and founder of Black Guns Matter, and I hope you all will let Maj know how much you appreciate the great work that he's doing. We're going to talk about a lot of the good stuff that he's doing in Philadelphia, and I'm going to put up different emails and links and places to go to follow and support. And I encourage you to do that actively because I've been watching this brother get banned. It seemed like every 2 weeks, but I mentioned him and Rizza Islam. I said, if you're getting banned, I'm gonna be right there with you. This platform's always open, and we just gonna all stick together and fight it as men and make things happen. So also, I want to ask everybody a question in the chat. Give me a yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Do you think that Black people should own, either consider or actually own weapons? Do you think that Black ownership of weapons could be beneficial for us as a community? And also, Sandra says, what's the website for more info on the classes? I'm going to put the email address up that you can email. They should send the email, right, to solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com.
Send the email, get on our newsletter. Again, solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. The irony is that, again, even though we're talking about censorship, we recognize the power of social media. Social media is like almost like people go to Twitter and Instagram before they go to a website. Like they usually go to a website when they're ready to like buy something. Well, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so Twitter has, and social media in general, let me be very clear, it has been a very powerful tool. That's the reason why the attempts to censor or even remove certain people from that. So email solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. We got Solutionary University coming up, which will be classes on pretty much everything, kind of like mimics the Solutionary Center in Philly. But yeah, man, everybody, please just join the email list, because we can send out an email blast. You might see it when we get it, and it might have 4 different things. We obviously don't spam everybody. We obviously don't sell, the emails to nobody else. But just people that, it's kind of like, yo, if you want to be a part of this, cool. If you don't, I understand. You'll show up later when they do some more silliness, like attempting to tell you, you got to put a brain chip in your head or whatever. Next thing tell you, and so we used to that too. People will say, we don't need to have guns. We're dying, so forth and so on. And then they'll get robbed, and then they'll come back and be like, yo, I maybe I'm thinking about personal protection or self-defense or something like that. So yeah, just email us.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, man. So you saw Elon Musk is taking over Twitter,
Yeah.
and I saw you. It seemed like you made some comments about that, and I don't remember exactly everything you said, but I do know that you have some things to say about that,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get your thoughts on that because you've been to the crosshairs of dramatic amounts of censorship online. You were very vocal, during the whole pandemic, and I supported a lot of what you were saying. I mean, I can't think of anything you said that sounded outrageous on any level,
Yeah.
but you were being targeted because of it. And what's interesting is that a lot of the things that you were saying, that RZA was saying, etc., those things turned out to be true.
Right.
And that's the crazy part, right? And so it's like we live in this weird dystopian world where it's like there are people that believe they have the power to define what reality is going to be for everybody, and that if you have an alternative perspective, that's not even allowed. We'll smear you, we'll destroy you, we'll eliminate you. And as I ask you that question, what I've also noticed is it's really interesting. A lot of people had issue with Elon Musk taking over Twitter, and I don't blame people if they do. They said, "Oh, he's going to let in all the right wing bullies. The right wing bullies are going to come back." Da da da. But I saw a lot of bullying happening on the left too. I saw a lot of left wing people destroying people. I think Sean King got some guy to kill himself, or where he falsely accused him, and the guy committed suicide. I mean, it's like that chaotic energy is just, it seems like it's all over the place. So let's start with Elon Musk. How do you feel about that, and what do you see kind of happening in that space?
It's two different things. I'm always skeptical of. I trust but verify. And anybody that's doing business in a bunch of business in China, I'm watching them with a side eye. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not, and that's not a, and I'm gonna sound like the so-called racist. I have Chinese friends, right? But like Chinese government, the CCP. Another thing, I don't think people really get. Like, I don't even think people recognize what's happening in Shanghai right now with the COVID restrictions and protocols and lockdowns.
Oh, it's heavy.
It's bad. It's bad. It's like people are literally, they're trying to like lock people in their apartments and people are jumping off the joint. They have a great PR team that just makes you not even talk about it. Like, so for example, I own a lot of Nike sweatsuits. I think they're very comfortable. Yo, when you really think about it though, like there's a lot of people in China that are being forced to, or with very small wages, to make this gear. And some of them, like when you go to these places, they'll have like build like these poles with like nets on them to like catch people that try to jump out of the window. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I think that people don't really recognize how deep they are gangsters. There's no doubt about it. And so, and they also are very limited on gun ownership. Any place where there's a limitation on your ability to defend yourself, tyranny going to pop through. And so Elon does a lot of business in China. And you don't really get that plug unless you connect it. And that the connection is going to come with some sort of trade-off. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I'm skeptical of that. Now, I do also think that even if he is a controlled op, he's really good at being a controlled op and looking like he's about liberty. One, he's identifying with more libertarian concepts. I'm a libertarian for folks that don't know. Even I think his wanting to troll and expose some people on the left's contradictions is what would drive him to secure funding for $44 billion to be like, look, like I didn't think the deal was going to go through. Me personally, I initially said he's going to highlight this. He's going to pump fake. They're going to play themselves. He'll be able as a shareholder. And again, I'm not a financial expert by any means, but a lot of this stuff transitions and looks like the street to me. It's the same. It's like saying, yo, they ain't really about the profit for the people. They ain't really about really paying their workers like that. That's him saying, yo, I got 45, 43, whatever the stock was, to total up 40 something $billion. I'll buy it right now. If y'all really about the shareholders benefit, we're going to give you that extra couple of bucks, so forth and so on. I thought it was going to be because they did enact a so-called poison pill. And then I'm like, yeah, he was just going to like troll him and show how, they bluffing. But the stockholders is like, nah, we like them numbers. If you bought Twitter at, I don't know, I'm just random numbers. If you bought Twitter at 40 and you could cash out at 53, it's like you're an idiot as the board of directors. You're not operating in the shareholders' best interest. So I thought he was going to pump fake him. He went through, secured the funding. The fact that he secured $44 million worth of funding that fast, one, tells me I got a lot of work to do. That's number one. and two, you doing business on a level with people that's gonna come with a quid pro quo. So, but when I saw the pump fake, or what I assumed to be a pump fake, I was like, he'll at least expose some of the contradictions. When a deal looks, because it still could, some weird thing could happen that it still just doesn't like finish, right?
Yep.
But for all intents and purposes, it looked like it's going to go down. When that happens, I started to go, man, if he really does this and is genuinely like, look, say what you want, do what you want, put it within the confines of the law. The next thing that I thought was, now the government is going to try to hit him with violations of Section 230. That's what I think they're going to try to hit him with next if it's just free speech. And I'm watching black people that have no business being opposed to free speech, because that benefits us too. When I say black people need to be armed, and Instagram says we don't want black people to have guns, so we're going to suppress his reach and or block him off the page. That goes two ways, right? If you're not strong enough to just ignore somebody that you agree with, like me, I like my racism right out in the front. I like it right there. It's like, yo, you don't fuck with me? Cool. Thank you for letting me know. I really appreciate that. You know what I mean? And I know what to avoid. I think that's another area. And I know I'm going a little bit further, but in the digital space, we're weak in a space where our elders had to deal with that actual reality every day. So like, I don't give a damn if my reach is good, right? I got 98 and it's been growing over the last week and a half, but I got 98,000 Twitter followers, right? If I got to scroll past some goofballs that I don't like, that I don't even follow, somehow they in my timeline, and the exchange is I get access to 50% of my 98,000 Twitter followers. Like, black people think. If you an influencer, I don't care if you just sell merch. I don't care what it is. I get to scroll past people that I disagree with, and I get to reach 45 to 90,000 to 100,000 or whatever your following is to promote my wares to. You can make, there's certain times where I've made $60,000 on Twitter in a month from my phone selling merch. Before a lot of these restrictions, when my original Instagram page was up, if I posted a sale, it was like, yeah, here comes 20K. And so I think that black people need to think about that and not keep following this narrative like, oh, he's going to let the alt-right, don't be a bitch. Like, don't like, what do you mean the alt-right are coming? I saw Jamie Foxx say something. There was a very interesting video, and it's very recent. He was saying he went down to Destin, Florida, and they was out in the water or whatever. And he's from Texas, and so he had some of his friends from San Francisco, and he was like, listen, we going down here. It's the South. These my peoples. You good? And so his homies from San Francisco. These are the same type of black people. I'm not saying these guys specifically, but this mentality of I'm so tough, I'm so big and bad. You get around. He was like, there was like Trump flags, and it was this, and it was that. And his friends from San Francisco in the Bay Area was like, yo, man, these white folks going to do X, Y, and Z to us, and they're going to leave us in this water. And my first thought is like, why the fuck are you afraid of white people? Like, a lot of white people ain't even fucking thinking about you. Like in reality, like that's not the standard of where your fear factor is. Like, what the fuck are you even thinking about that? And two, Jamie Foxx then winds up saying, like, one of the guys was like, Jamie Foxx, what the hell are you doing here, man? Come on. And they was playing like I Love America, whatever songs. They switched it to Jamie Foxx's music. They was all kicking it, drinking, having drinks, sharing. And it was actually a genuine, and I don't know what's in these white folks' heads outside of this moment that Jamie Foxx said something about it. But he was like, yo, that would be dope if America actually was like fully like that. And I agree with that. So my point in saying that is this fear of like the alt-right person saying something on Twitter, like, tell me you afraid without telling me you afraid. Like, so what? So what? I'm at CPAC damn near every year. I'm in the gun community. I'm around federal agents, law enforcement. I don't get, my position is my position. I don't give a fuck about like somebody's opinion of something when they're expressing what their opinion is, and I get to do that on a platform. And tying this back into Elon Musk, and me seeing over the last week, I'm noticing my tweets are getting more reach. I don't know if they're like, man, we got to get rid of some of these algorithm blocks before the cell go through, before we get exposed. I don't know what that is, but I do know I recognize the difference. So if that means our lesson, our classes, our merch, our mission is going to be presented more, then I'm all for Elon getting in. And at the very least, we'll be able to see more of those contradictions. We'll see people on the left, to your point, that are like, this is the worst thing. A billionaire shouldn't own a platform. I'm like, have you fucking heard of Rupert Murdoch? Have you heard of Jeff Bezos? Like, like the Hearst family, like that owned newspapers 100 years ago? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I just want our people to really kind of step back from the elephant a little bit and kind of like look at the opportunity that if this guy does what he's presenting like he may, how this could actually be for good, can be for us in spreading our message that our community needs to hear.
Everybody, I'm speaking, in case you just came in, I'm talking with Maj Toure. Maj Toure is the founder and CEO, leader of Black Guns Matter. You can actually follow him. I'm going to put his Instagram up here. Everybody should follow him on Instagram. Also, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And say something. You'll say something about this, because I like what you're saying. I mean, I think the difference that you bring to the table, it reminds me of guys like, Ice Cube and a few others, and also my father. What you're bringing to the table that the Democrats don't support is you're bringing masculine leadership. Right. What they've enhanced, what they've gotten used to is over the last 20 years, the Black community became kind of a fatherless community to some extent, because they locked up so many men. They locked up hundreds of thousands of Black men. We were prisoners of war. These men are still in prison right now. Their sons, but by not having that father to guide them, many of their sons ended up taking on feminine energy of their mothers. Gay, trans, all that shit. It's fine. I'm not hating on it, but that's not the entirety of who we are. You can't have a whole community full of men that want to imitate Lil Nas X.
Right.
And what happens is, I have found is that, and then at the same time, you've seen the strengthening of the Black woman as she's been forced to adjust to not having the men take the lead. Right. So when you step up, or when Cube steps up, or I dare say myself as well, when we step up and say, like you say, fuck your vaccine, or I say, I don't care what white people think. I'm right there in line with you. It's words. Who gives a shit about words? People don't get that. They're like, oh my goodness, how dare you? How you say? Do you understand how much this hurts my feelings? And I don't know if you remember, there was that rapper that did the song about racism, and he was rapping against a white guy. And the Black rapper said something. The white guy's like, "If you Negroes, he used the N-word a lot." And he's like, "I can't stand Black people." Blah blah blah. He's like going hard. And the Black guy said something like, "I cry at night sometimes because the racism hurts my feelings." Yeah, right. And that's what it is, right? I think I really have figured that out. That there's feminine energy is extremely important, but unfortunately, a lot of our men have become feminized. Our communities become feminine. So when masculine leadership steps to the front, like yourself, again, like what Ice Cube did with Biden, where he said, look, I'll talk to a Republican and I'll talk to a Democrat because I'm trying to get the best deal. I'm not looking for emotional validation. I'm not looking for you to give me symbolism to make me feel better. I don't need you to give me my self-esteem. I want reparations. I want the check. Cut the check. Right. I don't care. You can tell me you hate my guts as long as you cut the check. And to me, that reminded me, that's the same spirit as I believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I think he met with the KKK. I think Malcolm met with the KKK. Harvey met with the KKK, because they don't need white people to say I love you and give them a warm fuzzy hug. Right. So you feel free to continue to speak to that. Your thoughts.
Your personal worth. Like I saw something that was like, there was a picture of these young people, young Black folks going to prom, and they matching guns with their prom outfits, right? To me, I'm like, bet, because we see this all of the time. Like in the gun community, we see all different ethnicities of folks. And there's even like a running joke, kind of like the dad comes out with the shotgun or the rifle or whatever, the uncle. Right. It's like, yo, we have showing that We prom, we're willing to stand up for this person and so forth and so on. Now, obviously, nobody's really meaning, yo, we're gonna shoot you if you da 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 da. But the reality is, I saw that picture and I saw people in the black gun group that I was in saying, like, yo, that's crazy that they would do this with all of the violence that's in our community. And I looked at the picture and I saw, the young person had good trigger discipline. Now, the picture was one of the young people had the gun pointed towards the camera. Right now, the gun more than likely is clear. Clear meaning there's no actual round, no magazine in the actual firearm, right? But to me, I thought that was an opportune moment to say, hey, we don't know if that gun is clear, and share that information with the young person, so forth and so on. We started going in on, yo, if this was white people, it would be cool. You missing the whole point. There's no white people in the picture. There's no white people in this picture or these pictures. These are teachable moments, and we get our young people to understand that firearms ownership. I remember one year, a few years back, there was over 300,000 missing black women. Like 300,000. Like not even like that's a pandemic if you asking me about something. And so nobody talked about that, and we're not having a discussion about how that would actually protect, our valuable resources, our young people. And so this thought process, who was it? The writer that passed not long ago, the female writer. I'm a really hate myself for not remembering.
Maya Angelou, the poet.
No, not Maya Angelou. More recently,
the feminist writer. Hooks, Bell Hooks, maybe.
Not Bell Hooks, before her, more famous than her.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, she said there was an interview that came out, and she always wrote from a black perspective. And the interviewer asked her, was like, do you feel like you should open up more of your writings to include from some of the white perspective? And she said, you don't really understand the level of arrogance and privilege that would even make you ask me that question. Like, you even asking as if I'm already, and she wasn't being rude to the lady. She was very classy and all of that. Toni Morrison is who it was.
Okay.
And so she said the level of, I'm writing from a perspective, and I'm already, because the lady said, well, for your work to hit mainstream success. And she's like, in essence, and I'm paraphrasing, so I don't want to butcher it too bad, but she said, I'm already like a best-selling writer. Mm-hmm. So writing from this perspective is what actually got me to this point. And that's me just telling these stories that are in essence universal truths, right? The fact that you think that it needs to be accepted when I've already achieved a certain level of commercial success speaks to the thought process that you have. That is the thing that is very dangerous more than anything. Like when you have this thought process that I got to get somebody else to approve it, right? Mm-hmm. Like one, you walking yourself into dangerous territory. We made black people, we had a stated goal when we started Black Guns Matter in 2016. We are going to make black people be the newest, largest gun buying demographic in America. Now, I'm not saying that just because we want to send money to Glock or SIG or anything like that, but black people are walking around unprepared physically. Like, I'm actually going to defend my shit. I'm actually going to do it, right? But if you have this mentality that, oh, if I have a gun, they are going to do X, Y, and Z without any data to back it, because the group that is defends themselves and stand your ground cases the most in America is black people. So if you have this thought process that like they are going to do this thing, you're automatically going to like trick yourself out of a human right. And it's because of a thought process that someone else wouldn't approve of your thing. I care about and I'm going to say this because I fall short from even my own models of people that I say I care about this person thinking. Like, yo, how people be like, what would Jesus do? I'll be like, well, what would Malcolm do? You know what I'm saying? Is Malcolm going to be cool with this shit that you're doing? And a lot of times I fall short. I'm going to be clear about that. But the reality is, like, Malcolm is almost like a father to me in the sense of like, dude just kept evolving. He stood on his square. He kept getting sharper. and he wasn't doing it about anybody else. Now, of course, he was highlighting some of the contradictions. You say Second Amendment, but as soon as us black people get firearms, y'all contradictory, right? Malcolm was great for, I'm going to read this entire dictionary. I'm going to utilize this Constitution and this Bill of Rights, and I'm going to hold you to the contract that you said. These are your rules. And so that mentality of, you know, when you say the masculine energy has been removed, that's a part of that. I don't care. I'm not doing this for somebody else's thing. Again, when we started and said that in 2016, we knew by maintaining and even addressing certain things in the black community, certain companies was initially going to shy away from us, right? As to date, we only have had like maybe 4 bigger company gun community sponsors. That's because I be saying shit that like they're afraid to talk about. And I'm good with that. Floyd Mayweather don't got a bunch of sponsors, but he got a bunch of money. He got a bunch of power. You know, now what are you doing with the money and power? That could be a whole nother conversation. But the reality is he, towards the tail end of his career, wound up getting the sponsor, which was Hublot, which is a hugely, wildly expensive timepiece. But my point is, we knew that we were gonna expect that contact. And so for us, it was like, look, we're gonna make these classes voluntary. If they're free to all, if you want to donate to it, you can. Within 3 years and less than $300,000 of people giving us resources, like we gonna support your mission. Not a company saying we're gonna hire you and you got to stay within these parameters, right? The people within 3 years say, here, we did all these classes all around the country. We made black gun ownership nationally increase. That's a fact. That ain't even up for debate. Then we literally said, okay, now we're going to make this happen while we still talk about black issues. We wasn't thinking about the white perspective or how white people are gonna, and that's not even a knock. Anybody that would feel like that's a knock towards black people, towards white people, is like a thing. Like, standing for the community that you're from and in and live in and work for somehow has been translated and diluted into somehow you must hate other people. Toni Morrison, writing stories from that perspective, is writing stories from that perspective. That has nothing to do with dissing or promoting or anything. This is our focus. This is what we on. And if you want to come be a part of it, cool. But I think that lack of masculinity has increased that. Again, when we see all of these dudes, and again, most of my friends and family are so-called on the left, you know, Democrats or whatever. But it's like, yo, we have become very selective on where we want to be masculine. We have become very selective on, you know, back to that Jamie Foxx thing. You guys is from the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland. You come down to Florida, and the first thing you're thinking about is, oh man, these guys with Trump flags are going to do something to us. Like, there's a certain level of like, you cherry picking where you got balls. You know what I mean? And so it's like a weird dynamic. And so, you know what I mean? Translating some of that and reverse engineering some of that out of our people's minds is another purpose of our center and stuff like that. Because otherwise, it's like, yo, is you solid or is you not? You know, like,
Cherry, I just that cherries and balls, and that's hilarious. That, you know, man, I think that's and I think that's a great point, right? Because I mean, process it like this, right? Okay, everybody expected me to run around scared that a Trump supporter is going to run up and beat my ass because I'm black. But think about it, just to give you a sense of how rare that shit is. Yo, Jussie Smollett had to make up a whole fucking story. He couldn't find. I'm like, if this violence, if this right wing, I'm not defending right wing people. I'm not a Republican. Y'all know that. But if this right wing violence is as rampant as CNN and Don Lemon's raggedy ass is telling y'all, then there should be incidents everywhere. Right. There should be black people dying by the thousands. Right. Like, and they are, you know, and we're gonna talk about that. They are. There are places where black people are dying, but it ain't no Democrat Republican stuff. Yeah. What's fascinating is how they have somehow gained the ability to trigger the masses off of what is basically a fucking illusion.
Right.
It is a, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say white people are wonderful or that they shit don't stink. I'm saying that I see white people a lot and I've none of them have run up to me, and they're if anything, they're nervous about talking to me. So I think now, and that goes to a point I want to ask you about, because I believe in real conversations, and I know you have these. And this is everybody. This is Maj Toure. The email address to sign up for his classes is right there on the screen. So everybody write that down and support the brother. So you talk about Philly. Now here's something real. Everybody, you listening, give me a yes in the chat if you're hearing this. Here's something real. I told you about what the illusions are, that everybody's going to get murdered by a Trump supporter. No. Here's what's real though. Since 2020, when they were allowing rampant, riots and chaos everywhere, throwing bricks at the heads of cops, acting like we don't need police or whatever, no matter what. And again, police reform absolutely necessary, but to act like we don't need cops ever is a big stretch. And also, here's what's happened since then. I'm gonna lay this out, and then I'm gonna go and pass the ball back to my brother here. I know cops. My father was a cop. I know brothers who I've known since kindergarten who are on the police force who ain't waking up in the morning trying to kill a black person. Let me tell y'all what they've told me. They said before 2020, we would open up a job on the police force. We would get hundreds of quality applicants, college graduates, smart people, black people that wanted to have, wear the uniform, all that. He said after 2020, when the media went out and told everybody that all police were evil, he said all the black people quit. All the qualified people didn't want to apply anymore. And the only people that wanted to be cops were the idiots and the racists who really do want to kill your ass. Unqualified people were the only ones who wanted that job. So he said to me, he was a high-ranking official. He said, I was begging my black cops not to quit, but they said, man, everywhere I go, everybody's telling me that you evil and you this and you that. I don't want to deal with all that. I'm gonna go work over here. Right. So here's what's happened. And this was predictable. We talked about this in 2020. There has been a crime wave in every major city in America. Yeah. People are dying in Philly like crazy. People are dying in Chicago like crazy. There are places in Chicago now, you get carjacked just sitting at a red light now. LA has a crime wave. The LA PD has said we can't promise that you're going to be safe in the city. Yeah. You don't come. So you talked about Black Guns Matter as part of the solution to that. Yeah. And I'd like to get a sense from your perspective, Maj. What have you been seeing in Philly, and what is Black Guns Matter kind of doing to kind of deal with that?
So it's layered. That most things in most conversations are full of context and all of that and nuance, right? So I'll go back to first the contradiction. On one hand, you say these and again, mostly Democratic. Again, I'm gonna give it to the right and the left. I'm a libertarian. I'm not a part of. If I have to identify with a political party, I'm more in alignment with libertarian ideology, right? I'm registered to vote as a libertarian. And if you don't like libertarian,
by the way, I am too.
Boom.
I think hearing from you and a couple other brothers got me libertarian. My wife don't like it, but I'm libertarian. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So the smoke is for so-called Democrat, Republican, whoever could get it, independent, whoever could get it. The unfortunate part, though, is all of the cities where the violent homicides are, even if the state is red, the cities where it happens is blue, is Democrat. That's because of bad policy. That's because of we try to pretend like the past don't affect the present. It does. That's because of the crack epidemic. That's because of the school to prison pipeline. All of these things is all connected. So when those cities happen that way, on one hand, they say, we want to defund the police. They said that going in 2019, going all the way into the election. They did everything they could to just make sure that we're not going to have another Trump run, regardless of how people feel on Trump. I think he was great for the business of America. I do not think he was great for guns in America. And I don't really care. What's the business, and is black people getting money, right? With that being the case, they said this. They made the just police the boogeyman, not the system, not the state, not the policies that were enacted by those same Democratic politicians. They just said police are the enemy. Then they said, we're going to, as this so-called rioting, which there's proof and evidence of big pallets of bricks just magically being dropped off at certain places, happened to be in communities, happened to be in my community, right? Then they said, we're telling the police to not show up. So they did that. They set the play for that. Then at the same time, they make it harder for black people to have the means to defend themselves in those same cities. So we want you to beg for police. Then we're going to say, we got policies in New York and Chicago where it's damn near impossible to lawfully carry your firearm. So that's the one contradiction right there. Then they say, they run on this, yeah, the police, and we're not pretending like the police have not been negative or a percentage of law enforcement officers because of bad policy turning the other way and police unions. We're not going to pretend like that wasn't an issue in our community. But then what happens is then they say, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. Do you know that damn near half of Chicago's COVID relief money went to the police department? After the entire time they told black people, we're going to defund the police, they still made it hard for you to have the means to defend your life. They told police to fall back. The black police left. People don't understand what a PR campaign and the power of it is. Like, you can convince a motherfucker to think that boys are girls. That's great PR. Like, when I put my marketing hat on, I'm like, damn, y'all did that. You know? So then when we step back, we have spikes in those blue cities across the nation during the time when mainstream media was promoting, mass formation psychosis, right? They do that. Your wife's just like a brainiac, like she knows this type of stuff. Like, she like, nah, they're literally, that's psychology. So this happens. Then they contradict you. They give all of the police the money. Then, with all of that poverty, anybody that was selling anything will attest to, when Trump was in, wherever you land on him, money seemed to be flowing a little bit better. The red tape got cut on some things. We've fallen back. We're not doing this Paris Accord. We're not sending people over here. We're not getting, I think he might have been the last president to not involve us in a new war in some time.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Then they scare these people into saying, oh, they're the racists. They don't give a fuck. The people that are telling you that those guys are the racists, those are the same people that enact policy that locked your uncle up. We all know about Biden. We all know this. So then when we tie that back into the gun thing, now after we've done a bunch of work for the last 3 years, getting black people to buy guns. And again, fact, the largest new gun buying demographic is black people, mostly black women, because a lot of the brothers got felonies on their jacket and they can't lawfully possess, right? So we do that. What does year one? What's one of the first things that Biden and the administration starts pushing? Gun control. Why was gun control created? Initially, to stop black people from having the means to defend their lives. So the same dude that they told you was going to get the racist Trump out, that they stole a bunch of votes, that they just ballot boxes just missing, just hundreds of thousands of ballots just missing. Oh, we just happen to have a glitch right at the same time that was going this way. Now it's going for Biden after we was closed that day. The same person that they told y'all to be supporting, you got these tap dancing shines running around saying Biden's the way. This is the same person, as soon as they steal that election, get in office, never mind the fact that the Arizona in key swing states, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, never mind the fact that there was all voting irregularities in those Michigan, key swing states. They get this guy in who's a senile idiot. I'm sorry. I'm not being rude to anybody, but dude clearly is struggling with some form of dementia. There's no doubt about that. So they get in, he gets in, the handlers behind him say the first thing, it's not the conversation about reparations. It's not the conversation about how can we stop all of this COVID overreach. The conversation is we need gun control. And if you get caught, some of the first things that they put in, if you got caught federally with a magazine over 10 rounds, you could be looking at 10 years in a federal penitentiary.
Wow.
So when black people step back and go, look at the racist roots of gun control. That's not me just saying it because it sounds cool. Literally, quite literally, we have a Second Amendment in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is a list of human rights that are not granted by government. This is their rules, not mine. Y'all, I wasn't around when they made this shit up. But it was a list of rules that government, y'all should definitely read the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers. When they argued about how we're going to structure this nation. We do not want government telling us we don't have the means to defend our lives. That was the construct. Then when that construct happens, then we go, oh, accept the blacks, accept the indigenous people too. That is the basis of all gun control. This whole, how they trying to switch it and make it look like, oh, it's about public safety. No, it's not. Here's the other caveat to this. All of the places that have all of this violent crime are also places that have more restrictions on lawful gun ownership. You look at Chicago, look at New York, when you look at New Jersey, when you look at Compton, when you look at Philadelphia, when you look at Detroit, where there's high concentrations of black people, where there's more restrictions on their right to lawfully purchase firearms, it creates a culture of only the bad guys. I'm the bad guy. I don't care about the rule. And if I'm the bad guy that's kind of a coward, I'm outmatched. I'm outmatched by that bad guy because he has a firearm and I don't, because I'm following rules. Even though the rule is a direct contradiction to the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So when we have black people sitting around going like, I'm not reading the Constitution, do you think I give a fuck about what George and the boys meant? I'm saying what was written down. If I say this example at our classes all of the times to explain this concept to our people, right? If I wrote down, when you come to the Black Guns Matter class, there's a bucket with $10 million in it. And I wrote it down and you got the email and it says it. And it says, when you come into the class, you can take as much money as you need for your bills under $200,000. If you come in early, you can just take up to $200,000 for your bills, right? You come to the class, you got the printout, and then somebody's there and I say, oh, well, I didn't mean that for you. I meant that for everybody over 7 feet tall. That's not what's fucking written down. That's not what you said in the email. And that's the money right there. When I ask that to our students and I say, would you say what somebody said, oh, this is only for people 7 feet taller or up? Or would you go, I'm reading this as is, and I'm taking my $200,000? Which one would you do? Black people understand that very quickly. So when this Constitution was written, I don't care what they meant. Well, they didn't mean it for us. I don't give a fuck what they meant. This is mine. And if any one of you that want to try to attempt, I would love for some government official at this point in time to be very upfront and say, no, but we didn't mean you blacks though. And cool, say that. And that means I'm not a citizen. That means I'm a denizen. And if I'm a denizen, that means I'm actually a prisoner of war. That means none of the motherfucking rules and regulations apply to me, which means now we're talking about Geneva Convention and now we have an enemy combatant shit. Now we're having a whole different conversation. Or you can just let black people own guns like we are and defend ourselves, so forth and so on. When you translate that to black people and get them to have an understanding of it, then you start taking power from the constructs that these people created. Look, I got an LLC. I got a nonprofit. I got an LLC. When it's advantageous, I'm going to get an S Corp, a C Corp. I'm a maneuver. These are y'all rules. I'm playing the game. I didn't make the rules. America made me this way. So I'm American. That's how y'all made me. So I'm going to take full advantage of that. And since that's the case, when I say I'm American, I'm saying I'm a sovereign individual, a sovereign melanated individual that's going to take advantage of the full right of my human experience. And I dare somebody to verbalize the opposite. Y'all can play this. That's not what they meant game. Cool. When we walk in the room with the $10 million, just Master said, don't touch the 200,000 that you need. Let the other people come in and take it. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the mentality that you have, one, you should correct it. And two, you got to step back and look at the mental fuckery that's been applied to your mind since you was little. Like they've told you, like, psychology is so important, man. If I've made you, Carter G. Woodson said, you know, it's almost like, and I'm paraphrasing, like that mentality, they ain't even gonna go to the, like, we ain't even gotta tell them to go to the back door. They're gonna go to the back door, and if it ain't a door for them in the back, they're gonna carve one out for themselves. I'm just out here going like, yo, I'm taking full advantage of this whole situation. And our people got to look at the politicians and the legislation that they push. A key to simplify it, right, is if you don't think I'm a human, you're going to advocate for things that are not in alignment with human rights. So if we've identified that the construct and the contract of this place is this, the supreme law is the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And the Second Amendment, first, you get to say what you want, freedom of speech. Second, you get to defend what you just said if somebody starts tripping. If those are human rights, why would someone advocate for a thing that is in opposition to your human right to defend yourself? And a simplified way of doing that is to ask your politician, where do you stand on gun control? Because the people that want gun control, they don't advocate for the same rules for law enforcement. They don't advocate for the same rules for even the politicians are exempt from it. They advocate for, because the police union is organized, and they say, yeah, you could do that shit for the citizens, but our guys, we're not following them fucking rules. You know, since 2004, if I'm not mistaken, there has been a thing called LEOSA, Law Enforcement Officers Safety Act, which means law enforcement officers can carry their firearm in all of the states in America without additional like licensing. And a lot of the licenses to carry are not reciprocated. So if you got a license in one state, it may not translate. It's not like your driver's license. You can carry your pistol in this state, but this state does not have reciprocity. Law enforcement officers since 2004, every year they do like they stay within the rules and they, you know, check in, for lack of a better term. They can carry their firearm concealed through all of these 50 states as law enforcement officers, but the American people don't have that same right or respect for their right to be respected all across the nation. So there's a clear lack of equal protection under the law. And I think some smarter minds with a lot more resources and time should actually start suing local and state and federal governments about this. The reality is, if that politician is saying this is a human right, but we want to add more restrictions to your human rights, they telling you they don't think that you should have the means as a human to defend your own life. And if it's a very simple answer of there should be no gun control laws, there's already a law against murder. If I stab somebody to death, would you say we need more knife control? So our people just got to step back and really look at this thing. A firearm is how you defend yourself from the corrupt and negative and racist portions of the state. It's not just one police officer. It might be that one, but it's a system. It's the state. And the state is a monopoly. When you start looking at government for what it is, it's the mob. You pay taxes. That's a protection racket. You get money on our block. You got to give us a certain amount. The people that's getting more money collude with the people that make the rules, and they come up with rules to allow them to pay less money. Do the same thing. Do the same thing. Elon Musk, we talked about Elon Musk earlier. And I mean, I'm not saying he don't pay taxes, but it's like he ain't getting taxed 40% like the average person with earned income. Learn the game like the wolves do. Stop being a fucking sheep. Like, be a lion out here. Your legacy, your family, your children, your community needs that. And firearms is the most simplistic way where we recognize when it gets down to brass tacks. The government, there is no rule or law that this government will not enforce up until, if you do not comply, up until the point of them sending someone with a firearm to murder you. Let's think about that. That's when it comes down to brass tacks. If you don't pay a parking ticket and you go outside and they're about to put a boot on your car and you say, I'm not letting you put a boot on my car as the meter person, right? They'll call the police. That's your property. If the police ain't already with them, they'll radio to the police. And if you don't let them take your personal property, that police officer will potentially murder you. If you don't have that's your property. You pay property tax, you paid sales tax on it. You pay the taxes in the form of a license plate every however long for your state. If it's simple as you got 2 tickets, we want you to give us money for parking on our block. That's what that is. That's what government is. So when you advocate for politicians that are asking for more state involvement and encroachment and taxation and regulation, they're clearly telling you, we don't think that you're enough of a human to have the right to not only defend yourself, but to have a free market enterprise situation where the state is not involved. And if black people start looking at the government from that, you would walk around strapped too, because they got agents of the state literally walking around in cars with radios armed all day.
Wow, that's heavy, man. That's real heavy. That's deep stuff. Well, you know what, everybody? In case you don't know who I was speaking with for this hour, and it's been very interesting to definitely hear this perspective, is Maj Toure. Maj Toure is a brother out of Philadelphia that I respect. He runs Black Guns Matter, and I also hope everybody in here will consider being a solutionary and go take a look at what he's got going on. He's got free classes. You can learn everything you need to know about pretty much everything involving your survival. And Lord knows we need to learn how to survive. So the email address is right there. It's solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. So everybody that's interested, write that email address down. And also you can go to, you can follow him on Twitter or Instagram. Sorry, on Instagram at Big Daddy Toure, or you're just Maj Toure on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Maj Toure. Okay. All right. So yeah. So we got to support each other. And I want to say thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you, man.
Same here. Same here. Listen, if anybody wants to support, all of this is completely crowdfunded. Please, Doc gave a bunch of bread last time we was on. I appreciate you too for that, Doc. Go to givesendgo.com/solutionary. We have a center in Philadelphia. We have classes coming up on yoga, tax, welding, personal defense, hand-to-hand stuff. We have the sister Kimberly Latrice Jones is coming. She's a New York Times best-selling writer. She's doing a master class on writing for young people. All of these classes, because the center is a solutionary center. Obviously, we do firearm stuff there. If you know absolutely nothing about firearms, that's great. Come on and learn. But our community needs more of the things that makes it a community. So all of these classes are completely free to all. We are completely funded by your donations and support. Please go over to givesendgo.com/solutionary if you've appreciated or agree with some of the stuff that's going on in this conversation. Please support, man. We do this way between the merch sales and the voluntary donations to one show that individuals can add to a collective, and it can be voluntary. You don't have to have people taxing you to get good things done in your community. And so we also do it that way because we can stay, I've had companies like, yo, why don't you just come work with us? And that comes with, I can't talk about certain shit. Even if they don't package it to me that way, it's going to be some quid pro quo going on. You know what I'm saying? And so we do this way so we can maintain our independence and maintain our autonomy, which I think is worth its weight in gold. And so if y'all feel inclined to do so, please, man, give a donation. Every day we try to get $25, $100 donors. The remainder of our goal is going to purchasing that building outright, as well as all of the classes for the next 2 years. So if y'all can, man, and if anybody got any really rich homies that we looking for $100,000 donors that we can figure out a way to get some sort of return on the investment. That way I don't have to fundraise at the same time as doing the classes. That'll be dope. But if y'all know any rich folk that want to say, yo, let's talk, email us, donate, and outside of all of that, man, yo, I get them emails too. Like if you're going through something, man, and I say this I try it on all of the interviews. If you're going through something, the last couple of years, a lot of people lost their jobs, suicides is up, domestic violence is up, aggression is up. You know what I'm saying? If you're going through something, man, just email me. Send me your number. Let's talk. Let's chop it up. I would rather fucking talk to you about the shit that you're going through with your crazy girlfriend, your crazy boyfriend or whatever, and help y'all walk through it if you allow me to, if I can. I would rather deal with that than like read your obituary. You a black person. You a human. I love and care and respect you. you know, if you're doing respectable things. And I just want to make myself available to y'all on that way too, because this mental health component, and sometimes people just having a voice that can share and listen to, you know, that's important. So, you know, just somebody has said Christ is the answer. Where the fuck was Christ this whole time? Like, like y'all stop, man. Listen, I love y'all, but like, listen, man, like Christ, we come on, bro. Main man ain't showed up in a minute. We got work to do. Like faith without works is nothing, you know. So, but anyway.
Well, I believe that the black men, that they're great men like you, and you're right, you're a lion, and you don't belong under anybody's umbrella. You should be a free man, which is exactly the way you conduct yourself. And also, I believe that power of manhood gives us an amazing ability to manifest. And that's a godlike power, you know. So just like black women have their own version of a goddess, we are gods in our own way. So I encourage everybody to tap into that. You know, no matter what your belief is, tap into the godlike power in you, and then you won't be afraid anymore. Right. So everybody, the email address is right there, solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. One more time, there's the Instagram, Big Daddy Toure. Everybody follow Maj on Instagram right there. And this is Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. And I want to say thank you all for hanging out. It was great talking to you. And also, brother, it's good talking to you again. And we got to get together, man, talk about partnerships on what you're working on in Philly, man. I'm going to be up there very soon. So I definitely want to loop in, man, and check out what you got going on, brother. Much respect to everything you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doc. I appreciate you.
For sure, for sure. All right, everybody, have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. God bless you, and we will talk to you soon. Take care now. Peace.
Peace.